What's up, everybody? We're doing a hobby update today to just kind of catch you up on all the things that I've been working on for Warhammer, and I'd also love to hear what you've been working on, so you can go ahead share that in the comments down below. But let's get started, and we're going to start with my Fusiliers for the cities of Sigmar, because I've already done them once and I need to just finish off a second batch. But as a new, hobbyist, when you get to do something for the second time, it's where you can actually improve and, do things a little bit better. So, I mean, first of all, I built them better than I did the first time. But when I actually look at them, I'm going to grab them. I'll have some footage to cut over this, and they're not quite done. So I still have one massive piece of work to do on these, which is to do some dry brushing on the black iron of the actual, Pavis like shield on them. And there's like a couple of little tiny details here and there that I'm also going to go to, but this is the time to make my video, so I'm just going to make it now before I finish those details. But either way, with these guys, I did the same thing that I did last time, where I built them in two separate sub-assemblies. So the shield's totally separate, the people totally separate. However, on the first time I did it, I actually did the heads separate as well, and I didn't find that necessary this time. But it was, it was kind of cool working on heads individually, so I don't necessarily dislike that I did it that way. But either way, I already had some better times just keeping things neat and organized, and not having to touch up and go back as much as I used to, because I've just gained a little bit more control with the paint. Now, that being said, still a long way to go, but there are some cool things that I've been doing on these. So for example, just a little bit more highlighting with the lighter kind of like reds and oranges, in order to actually, make the cloak pop a little bit more. I still need to add that lighter red highlight to the Pavis shield as well. I have a few little kind of ribbons that I'd like to highlight, and a few lanterns that need to be finished, but otherwise they're looking pretty good. I mean, you can see that there's kind of like the metal details on the bags, and the little things on their cloaks. Those are all painted in, and the actual iron of their weapons, I did a little bit better this time. I just went straight iron the first time, all iron. This time I put on some wood details, and eventually I would like to go back and touch up some of the stuff that's on these ones onto my already built ones that I did earlier. Well, I guess last summer, so it's been a long time. But either way, the one other detail that I kind of worked on differently is, I guess I built my Fusilier sergeant, the one that's in charge, the champion. I gave him the dual pistols because it doesn't really matter anymore, which equipment they have, and I'm going to be reinforcing the unit anyway. So now I just get a different looking guy. I also, the first time I did them, I chose all the heads with the really cool faceplate on their helmets, and they were all helmeted, and that made the heads really easy. This time I chose the opposite. I did the bandaged guy. I did, people with haircuts, people that are bald, all sorts of things, no helmets, helmets tilted up, whatever. And I made it a little bit different, so that they stand out more, because I'm going to have two different units. Well, one reinforced unit of Fusiliers that each of them will look a little bit different than some of the other ones out there. So the other big thing that I've been working on is the one-page rules Griffon, and I actually have it beside me, so it's easier for me to talk about it. But this thing is amazing. It is a way better sculpt than the GW one, and that's fair because the GW one's quite old, but I'm really, really happy with this. So I'm going to cut to some footage of this thing so you can see it in closer detail. It is also not quite done. There's little details on all of the metal and all of the gold that I want to go back and actually update, and I did some highlighting of the feathers around the head. That looked really cool, and then I did my wash and I lost a bit of that, so I want to go back and touch that up. I need to finish the eyes still as well, and I need to finish the stone, because I basically put a too dark of a wash on the stone, and now it's a little bit too grimy, so I need to go back and touch that up with some Dawnstone that I have. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good. This is the first time I've done something this big. I guess the biggest thing I had done to date would have been things like the cannon, the Fusilier Major on Ogre Warhulk, and then Lyrior Uthral from the Lumineth range. Otherwise, I mean, this is the biggest thing that I've ever done. There was a lot of like really hard to get places in the feathers, and painting the feathers, I actually painted them once, didn't like how it turned out, and then did some repainting. But overall, feel really good about kind of the contrast that I got. It is really difficult to do the black tips. The way that made sense for me in the end was to work kind of like from try to find an individual feather and then work diagonally from there. And that actually ended up making a bit of a difference. There was also lots of little like leather straps and stuff on this Griffon that you had to, you know, work around. And then of course the throne that the, you know, the the Free Guild general is going to be on was really cool. I did a red kind of like red velvet chair, which is not even going to show up when he sits in it very much, but that's okay. And then speaking of that, that's actually the least detailed part of this sculpt, would be the actual, you know, Free Guild general. He is also not quite done, but getting pretty close. And I need to highlight his cloak. I need to work on his sword and kind of some of his details on his clothing. And then otherwise, just lots of little highlights on the metal and the gold features. And then after that, he's actually just ready to go ahead and sit in the Griffon. And this thing's going to be, I mean, it's already tabletop ready. I have blue tack sticking it down onto the actual base right now because I want to do some basing stuff with this. But there's not much to do because the base is already very detailed with the 2 pieces of stone that's on there. This is, I would highly recommend, this is the 1-page rules Griffon. And if you have a chance to get this one or 3D print it for yourself, highly recommend it. I think it's probably one of the coolest sculpts I've ever seen, and it prints really well. At least mine did from the store that I bought it from. So otherwise, after I finish these details on these models, what's next for me is actually to do this Pontifex Zenestra that I was gifted for my birthday, which was just happened a couple weeks ago. Really excited for this one. This is going to be one of the coolest models I've ever built. Can't wait to show that off on here. And even more importantly, I mean, for me at least, I can't wait to play with it and maybe give some reviews on how it plays and stuff, because I know she's quite powerful in a human-centered list. As long as you have enough humans or all humans, then she's going to be good to go. But in terms of content, I am very close to moving day. I'm 1 week out exactly. And so that means that maybe even the next time you see me on camera, I'll be in a different room. I don't know whether I'll have like my Star Wars postcard set up or not, but that's likely going to be the next time you see me. Now, I might actually do a video if I can, and might not have camera depending on where I am in packing, but we'll see. We'll see about that. So otherwise, let's sign out for now. And thank you everybody for stopping by, checking out what I'm working on. And again, I would love to hear what you're doing with your hobbying, and you can tell me on YouTube, but you can also tell me on the Discord, and we actually have a channel specifically for that where you can show off the stuff that you're working on, and then we can all tell you how amazing it looks. All right, see you all in the next one.